Welcome back to the old barn on Ann Street. This is barn raising week, Sunday edition. In other words, today's the last day of barn raising week. And what a week it's been. We've done a lot of work, or showed you all the work we did in the back of the barn when we raised the back corner of the barn. We reinforced redid the foundation, reinforced the bottom of the walls. We dug down the floor. We poured some cement. It's been a great week. We accomplished a lot, huge structural parts of the work for this old barn, and it only took us a week to show you, but it took us a long time to actually do the work. About sometime last fall, late summer, about this time last year. The only thing left for us to do this week is to rebuild the stairs that we took out at the beginning of the week. So let me show you what that looks like, and this is the last step of barn raising week. Here come the stairs. So today we have a different job here in the barn. When we poured the concrete slab, we took out the stairs, the old stairs that were in the barn, and then we put those stairs back in after the concrete slab had been poured. The problem with those stairs is they're all 8-inch stairs, which is fairly normal, except the top stair is 12 inches, which is like 50% greater. It's a real tripping hazard, and it makes it really hard to get up and down these stairs. I kind of hoped when we poured the slab, because it's up higher than the floor was, that it would have solved some of that, but it didn't. So we're taking out the old stairs, and today we're going to build the new stairs. And so I've never built stairs before, but there's this great stair calculator on mycarpentry.com, and they just make all the measurements pretty easy. And so we're going to see how this turns out. Hopefully at the end of this day, at the end of this project, we'll have a nice solid set of stairs from the main floor of the barn up to the loft. So here goes. Here we go. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. First time I ever built stairs. Full disclosure, I did have to build it twice. The first set of stringers didn't work, and I learned a lesson. Don't build all 4 stringers until you've figured out whether the first one is actually right. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out. The original stairs only had 3 stringers, but I've decided to put 4 in just to make it extra sturdy. There's going to be a lot of people up and down, in particular in a couple weeks when Janet has her market. So this will be good. A lot more sturdy. It's solid. All the stairs are even. And what I mean by that is they're all the same height. Previously, if you remember, the top stair was 4 inches higher than the rest, and so it was a tripping hazard. So yeah. So here they are. I think they look great. They're solid. I'll tell you, the wood comes from all of it comes from the barn, but in various different places. Well, actually, some of it comes from the loft, from the house next door as well. They're just various pieces. There's some like the dark black wood. We found some wood actually under these stairs in the hay that was there when we first moved in. Buried under these stairs was some old wood from when there was a fire in the barn. It's cool looking. I've put that in there. 4 of those risers are the old fire charred wood. I think it turned out great. Let me know what you think. So there you go. Now we can actually go back up and down the stairs, go back up to the loft. Things are right back to where we started from, but in a much better shape. So as we come to the end of barn raising week, I thought I'd throw in a special treat for all of us. Here's a special guest that's going to join us. One of a beautiful neighbor lives right across the street, Vicki, and she is a 4th-generation person living in the neighborhood, living in the house across the street. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her memories of the neighborhood and particularly of this barn. So I hope you enjoy. Here's Vicki.
I live directly across the street from the house here, and I'm 4th generation in that house. My great-grandfather and his sons moved the major piece of the house from up on the hill on Mowat Street and added a back section, and I believe they placed the house on their old warehouse foundation because they were shipbuilders with a shipyard on the Jordan River. My grandfather added the east side section of the house. And my great-grandfather built the store on the corner. He lived upstairs. His 3 sons were employed by him, and his youngest son was my grandfather. So it was a general merchant store, and he retired, left it to my father. So, okay. I was born in 1946, and I believe I was about 6 or 7 years old when Charlie Wyman, who owned this barn and had milking cows, taught me how to milk a cow. And Mrs. Wyman, she made beautiful buttermilk, and then she sold the milk, and we all drank the milk. The whole community was getting their milk supply from Charlie. Charlie was at the time, was the master dory builder in the J.C. Williams dory shop. So Charlie milked his cows in the space behind me, and then he kept them. There was a fence here between the house and the barn, and another fence on the other side of the house, so he would keep them in the yard most of the mornings until one of his hired hands would come down and take them up to a big pasture up the hill. And then at night he would bring the cows back and they would be milked. I'm absolutely thrilled about what's happening in this barn. For too many years, Ann Street had 2 residents, the 2 houses across the street. That was it. The other properties were owned, but they weren't occupied. And now there's life here. There's so much happening. It's just wonderful what's going on. I can't express how happy I am about what's happening here. I think it's fantastic.
So we've lived in a number of different places and bought houses here in Nova Scotia back a couple decades ago, bought some houses in Vancouver, and then again in Toronto, and now back here again. And every time we're excited about the building we're going to build, we're going to buy and going to live in, but then we find out that what's the best thing about that are the neighbors and the people you live next to and live around, and no exception here. We love living across the street from Vicki and from her husband Peter, and so thank you so much for sharing your memories. Thank you for welcoming us into the neighborhood. We're so glad to be a part of the Ann Street history as well. But as we come to the end of barn raising week, when we look forward to next week, we're going to shift our attention a little bit. When we bought the barn, it also comes with a house built in 1788, and we had to do some work on the house to get ready for our tenants who are currently living there. So I want to go back and we want to shift our attention over to the house a little bit and show you some of the work we did there. We'll show you that for a couple weeks before we come back to the barn and show you more work here. So here's a little bit of work. Here's a clip from next week, some of the work we did on the house. So it's a bit of a dirty job. It's taken us a couple hours, taken me a couple hours just to pull all of the lath and plaster off of the ceiling and the wall on this half of the attic. We've moved all the stuff over that was in here over to the other side. Then we're going to do this side. Then we're going to move the furniture again. But thank you so much for joining us on the Old Barn on Ann Street. Now we're back to our regular schedule where we're posting on weekends every Sunday. So we'll look for you next Sunday as we continue in the process. Why not hit the portrait of the barn and subscribe and become a regular watcher of the episodes. But we'll see you next week, the Old Barn on Ann Street.